Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. It's officially the end of January. Today is the 31st of January, and I took time out of my busy schedule today to make a video to talk about the Dell R720 again that I bought. So we're going to go over what I've done physically to this machine, and then we're going to talk about what software I have decided to use as my hypervisor, and it may surprise you. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Now I have the right cable. Now I said in an earlier video I was not concerned about using the onboard controller and or the 2.5-inch hard drive bays on this Dell. This is the Dell R720, and this is the onboard H310 controller. So I did get another cable for this Dell that will supposedly allow me to connect up my backplane to the onboard controller. So that's what I'm going to do today and see if we can get it to work. And then we're going to also put a video card in here, see if we can get that to work, and start playing around with this Dell a little bit more. And then we'll see if I stop getting an error on the hard drive thingy. So it just plugs in here like this, and then these go up here, and then there's a SAS A and a SAS B, and I'm going to plug them in, and there's little holders. Let me make sure we got a good view on this camera. Hang on a second so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. And let me lock the camera. There we go. So it's got a SAS A and a SAS B, and they do connect up like this. So there goes that one. Let's make sure we can put it in its little holder on the side here so it stays out of the way of the fans. I paid about $15 for this cable on eBay. Hopefully it's a good cable and not a cheap Chinese knockoff. But the seller was rated good, so I'll fish these through all the little connectors here, and then plug it in, and then that should enable this backplane so that I can use it with 2.5-inch hard drives. So let me get my fan cage put back in here. Alright, that's back in. Now I'm going to leave the video. I've got a Quadro video card here to put in here as well. I picked one up off of eBay. It's what is it, K1000? It's a lower end Quadro card. But for my needs it'll be just fine, and it's a single slot card. So and it does not require any auxiliary power, so it should work fine. In this Dell, the PCI bus should provide more than enough power. But for now I'm going to leave it out because I just want to see if I can get the drive controller to come up and work. xcp-ng, that's what I've decided to go with my hypervisor, and there are several reasons for it. I don't need to go into them. Trust me, I've tried VMware, tried Hyper-V, and now that version 8 of XCP is out, I've kind of settled on it to run my stack on. It just gives me all the benefits of VMware and Hyper-V, but it's free. It's open source. So we thought we'd put it to work here at Unky Joe's Playhouse on that Dell R720 and my 710s and my IBM 3650 M3650 Model 3. But what I want to talk about today is how we do video card pass-through. I've also got that you saw that Quadro video card that I put into this Dell R720, and I want to be able to use that in a virtual machine. Say that I want to run Plex or MB or do video editing on a video machine or on a virtual machine. This will give me the ability to do that. And that's the whole reason I got this server, was so that I could add PCI Express cards, video cards, whatever, and play around with them. So let's get to the video, and we'll talk about XCP and how I got my virtual machine and the video card pass-through working. So if you remember, I kicked XCP about 3 months ago. I kicked xcp-ng out of my lab because I was playing around with VMware. Well, I played around with VMware, and yeah, VMware is great, but as you can see, I have been playing around again with xcp-ng, and I think it's going to be a keeper because I've discovered a few things about XCP that I wasn't aware it could do, and I had not actually given version 8.0 of XCP a fair chance, so we all make mistakes, and as you can see, I have come back and put XCP on actually all of my stack of servers on both Dell R710s and the 720 and the IBM. Now right now I don't have Dell number 2 up and running or the IBM XCP, so you're going to see some red X's on there, especially for the NFS virtual disk storage. I am using shared storage, I should say, for all my virtual machines off of that Synology Flash Station 1018 because it has really fast SSD drives in there, fast storage, and it is hooked up over a 10 gig link. Today what we're going to focus on, though, is getting a virtual machine set up on the Dell R720, and we are going to do a GPU pass-through, and I'm going to show you how easy that can be using xcp-ng. So this is not a tutorial on XCP. If you want a really good tutorial on anything to do with XCP, go over and check out Tom at Lawrence Systems, and he is my go-to guy. He's who I learned from. So right now I'm over here on Dell 1 XCP, and if you come over here to GPU, you'll notice there is no GPU installed in that Dell R710. However, if we come to Dell 3 and go to the GPU, you'll notice we have an NVIDIA Quadro K2000 video card available to us to pass through to a virtual machine. The problem is I don't have a virtual machine over there. So what we need to do is come up here to this machine. Now normally what I would do is just use the sysprepped image and make a copy and then move the copy over there, but I've already got one that's already kind of set up. Alright, so I now have a Windows Server 2019 up and running on my Dell R720, as you can see right here. Dell R720 E5 Xeon. And I've just given it a name. I'm going to go ahead and log into it because what I want to do is show you how we are going to add a video card to this virtual machine. So the machine is up and running. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name, and I'm going to join it to the domain. Now let's give it a name. Let's just call it we'll just call it Video Test. What do you think? Video Test, is that a good name? Yeah, we'll click OK here. Now it's going to make us reboot the machine in order to change the name. And then we'll have to join the domain after we reboot the VM. Or yeah, we'll have to join the domain. One of the things I really like about XCP is the console that they give you. It's really easy to use. It's actually easier to use than VMware's or Hyper-V for that matter. You could do all this through Zen Orchestra, but I am not familiar enough with Zen Orchestra to make all this happen. I'm still kind of learning on it. I did, as you can see, I do have a Zen Orchestra machine up and running. And, you know, these two little red X's here, you can ignore them. The reason we're getting them is because they're not connected to the Dell, because the other Dell 710 is currently shut down. So now that I've changed the name of the machine, I'm going to go ahead and join it to the domain. You don't have to do this, but it's going to make my life easier for this demonstration, so I'm going to show you how I do that. Now, I have used this name on the network before, so we'll see if it's going to allow me to join the domain. I'm just going to click on Workgroup and then click on Change and try to add it to the mcs.local domain. And it should prompt me for my credentials. No, it couldn't be contacted, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we'll just try MCS then. Nope. Cancel here. Let's see what IP address we're getting here. Yeah, we're not even getting an IP address. So, let's go see what's going on here. Let's go to networking. Okay, I need to assign that gigabit 1.3. So we need to change that. Alrighty, so because I have my my virtual machines, my host in a pool. This machine originally was connected to gigabit.1-1. On this server, it's 1-3. So you saw what I did. I just went in there and changed the interface around. Now I should be able to go in here and let's see if we're getting an IP address now. Yes. So now we're getting an IP address on the domain. Now we should be able to change it and join the domain. Click on OK. Now it may fail on me here. It may say there's already a machine with that name on the network. Nope, it let me join. And of course, Microsoft wants you to reboot again. Now this virtual machine, I've given it 4 CPUs, 4 gig of RAM, that kind of thing. I have not passed through the video card through it yet. We'll do that. There are some steps you have to take before you can pass the video card through. So let's log back in now that it's been joined to the domain. And we'll log on as MCS Adama. Enter our super secret password. And we should come up to a new desktop, and it should bring Server Manager up. All right, and as you can see, I'm just letting the camera roll today. All right, so now you see it's called Video Test. We're joining the mcs.local domain. Now, one thing you need to do, once you add a video card to this, you're no longer going to be able to use this console manager. You're going to have to use RDP to connect to the machine in order for the video card to work properly. So one thing you want to make sure you do is click on Remote Desktop and make sure you allow remote connections. Don't worry about the firewall exception. It'll take care of that automatically for you. Click on Apply, then OK. Now it wants me to connect via RDP immediately. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. Make sure Remote Desktop is enabled, and it is. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down the machine. And I'm going to pass through a video card to it. Alright, so now it tells me the VM is currently shut down. So if I right click, did you notice it put it back on Dell 1 XCP again? What the hell is going on? Huh. That's very interesting. Did you see what it did there? Well, because this is the master, but it is, if I right click on it and go to Properties, even though this machine does not have a graphics card in it, it knows there's a GPU in this machine. Now it even tells you here. So let's just ignore that. It's part of the learning process. I don't know about xcp-ng, but it would be interesting to take that up with somebody who does know why it does that when you put your servers into a pool. But you notice here it allows me to select the video card, and it even warns you cannot connect to your VM. Make sure you can connect to your VM over remote desktop. The default VNC will not work with the dedicated GPU. And then it's essential the appropriate graphic drivers are installed in the VM once it's been booted. If there is no available virtual GPU of the correct type when the VM is next booted, it will not be able to start. So we're going to click on OK. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on Start. And you notice it moves it to Dell 3 XCP. And it tells you the VM has a pass-through GPU assigned. You must connect to it using remote desktop. So we'll wait till the machine boots up and we'll see what kind of IP address it gets here. And then we'll go and try to install the drivers on it. It's really odd how it moves it to that VM, even though, oh well, I'm not going to question it. It works. I guess I don't have a complete understanding of how pooling these servers works. And moving forward, it may not be something that I actually want to do. I may want to keep these all separate from one another, but we'll see. Alright, so the machine is ready. So I should be able to come over to networking. So we're at 5.55. So I'm going to go ahead and start a remote desktop connection. And let's see, we'll go to 192.168.5.55. Click on Connect. And go ahead and log in. And then I'll bring the VM over here. Alright, so it's working. RDP is working. Now, the next thing we need to do is load the video drivers. Now, I'm just going to verify some settings here on the server manager. All that looks good. I'm going to tell server manager not to come up anymore. If I need it, I can bring it up. Now let's go out to device manager. And let's see what's going on with our devices. So I'll right click on that PC, go to properties, into device manager. And if we look under the video cards, we'll see that we have two Microsoft Basic display adapters. So processors are correct. So let's get the drivers loaded for this machine next. Now keep in mind, I am not using a consumer video card. I am using a workstation video card in here. And granted, it's a low-end card. I don't know that something like a GTX 950 or a 1080 Ti or something like that will work. That's why I went ahead and got the Quadro series of cards, because I know they've been tested. But let's get the drivers loaded. So I need to connect up to my NAS to do that. And I'm just going to go ahead and map a drive while I'm here to drive letter Z. And under the Z drive, I have my NVIDIA drivers. So now they're here somewhere. Alright, and I have one out here specifically for the Quadro, and that's version 431.02. So we're just going to launch the installer across the network. Now the main reason I went ahead and grouped, we're going to click on yes, that I put my servers into a pool is so I could share resources. So if you think about it, it's working exactly the way I want it to. I want them to use the same shared storage, the same shared ISO library, and based upon the way I've got it configured and what it just did with that virtual machine, it moves it to whatever physical host it needs to take advantage of the resources that are being made available to it. So I tend to overthink things like this, and granted, you're kind of I have done a test on this before to make sure it works. But I had not tested it with these servers in a pool. So that's why I was a little confused when it started moving the machine around and put it right back on Dell 1. Now this installation, I'll get it started. It is going to take some time. And I'm just going to do the express install on it. But it took me a while last time. I think it took up to 5 minutes to get all the drivers installed. So I'm not going to make you sit here and watch that. I just want you to see it getting started. And so what it's going to go out, this is what takes a little bit of time. It takes 3 to 5 minutes for that to do that. So we'll come back when something changes. All right, so we're at the license agreement screen. So I'm going to click agree and continue. And I'm just going to do an express install. We'll let it run, and we'll come back when something changes. So all told, that took approximately 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and restart the machine. And it's now restarted. We'll come back here to the xcp-ng center. Keep an eye on it. And then we'll do a little test. We're going to run Cinebench on it. But the first thing I want to do is make sure the drivers are indeed loaded. So let's come down here to the... Yep, I can see the NVIDIA settings is down there. So let's open File Explorer and then right-click on this PC and go to Properties. And then let's take a look, see, and make sure the driver is actually installed. And it is Quadro K2000. Now, how's the speed of the virtual machine? Very fast. It's actually faster on shared storage than it was on Spinning Rust, local Spinning Rust. So I'm going to go ahead and run the Opengl test. Alright, it's done. And 17 frames per second. That's excellent. No, it's actually not excellent. It kind of sucks, but hey, it's good enough for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and change this over to logical processors, and you'll see how our video card scored. It just did a little bit better than the HD Graphics 4000, but worse than the GT 620. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over here now, and then we're going to run the CPU test on it. Alright, so there you go. We got 315 is the CB score. So there you go. It's working. Now, why am I going to all this trouble? Well, I want to be able to run, I'm going to load Plex, I'm going to load MB on that virtual machine, and then I'm going to compare it to a physical machine and see how it compares with that video card pass-through. The other thing that'll allow me to do is, say I wanted to do video editing on a virtual machine, although I probably wouldn't recommend it. It could be done. So we might put DaVinci Resolve or some other editing program on there that'll run under Windows and see how it works. But basically I wanted to show you how to do the GPU pass-through. They've made it really easy on xcp-ng. You can do it under VMware as well. You can do pass-through devices. In fact, VMware's way of passing through the device is point and click on any device, whether it be the network adapters or the video card or the RAID controller or the drive controller. However, under xcp-ng, it's only easy to put through a video card, not so much a drive controller or a network card. You have to make some entries. And I'm going to do a video on that. I've done one on it before on how to do a pass-through, but I'm going to go over it again just for those of you that might have missed that video. But there you go. We've got our Windows Server up and running. We got XCP running on this server right here. That's the Dell R720. I still need to put 6 more hard drives in it, but I don't have any 2.5-inch hard drives, so I'm not worrying about it. And any 2.5-inch hard drives I buy for that are probably going to be SSD drives, so that they're fast. But I have shared storage. We're also running that server off of shared storage on the Synology FS1018, which is full of SSD drives. So the only problem is that there's one point of failure now. So if my flash station goes down, or I should say Sasha's flash station goes down, I lose the connectivity with all my shared storage. So we need to think up some redundancy on there. If you're in a, running it live, you wouldn't want to run a system like this without having some redundancy, some failover. But in a lab environment, you can see it's just working just fine. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Now, our next video on XCP will be concerning getting the hard drive controller passed through on my Dell R710, getting a Windows server machine, virtual machine set up on there, and doing a disk pass-through to run, not BlueWires, but to run Drive Bender. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. To run Drive Bender and have the smart stuff pass through and all that work normally as we like it to. So please make sure you join us for that video. It'll be coming up in a few days here. Please donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal, we take Patreon. We're also mirroring our content now over on Library. So if you go into the About section under Unky Joe's Playhouse on YouTube, there's a link there for our Library account. We've got all of our videos mirrored on there, so if you prefer to watch on Library, that's great. Go over there, sign up, be a subscriber or not. It doesn't matter to me. But I just want to give people an alternative. Some people don't like to use YouTube, so we're mirroring our content over on Library. And usually our YouTube content will appear there within a day over on Library. So I'll put the link in the notes to this show down there as well so that you have them. But there you go. So please come back and see us. And don't forget, we will see you on the other side.